Does one singular country have the power, legally, to censor the entire world's internet? That's the question lots of people have been trying to answer over the past week as the battle between genius tech innovator and owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, Elon Musk, and Australia's hapless Prime Minister Anthony Albanese continues to rage. The catalyst? The takedown order issued to X by Australia's e-safety commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, over footage of the stabbing of a Sydney Assyrian Christian bishop, Mari Emmanuel, by a 16-year-old Muslim boy. The boy has since been charged with a terrorism offence.
I have issued a notice to X Corp requiring them to move this content. A legal notice will also be sent to Meta this afternoon, and further notices will likely follow. I will not hesitate to use further graduated powers at my disposal if there is continued non-compliance.
Thank you, Julie Inman-Grant. But yes, everyone, you did hear that correctly. The man who brought Australians such wonderful innovations as a failed referendum on an Indigenous voice to Parliament is trying to go toe-to-toe with the behemoth of intelligence himself, Elon Musk. And honestly, watching dogs trying to walk on their hind legs is less awkward than watching Albo and other Australian politicians trying to shirt-front Elon Musk on anything, let alone what he does and doesn't have a right to publish on X globally. Because that's what this battle appears to be about. Should one country be able to control what content exists on all of the world's internet? Well, no, obviously. But nevertheless, our politicians persisted in asserting the opposite, with Albanese calling Elon Musk an arrogant billionaire.
Well, this guy is showing his arrogance. He's a billionaire over there in the United States who thinks he's above Australian law. And the idea that someone would go to court for the right to put up violent content on a platform shows how out of touch Mr. Musk is.
It's worth noting, my fellow aspirational Australians, that Comrade Albo uses the word billionaire as an insult. But before I get ahead of myself, let me recap just how we got to this point. On April 16th, E-Safety Commissioner Julie Inman-Grant, more appropriately known as Australia's censorship commissar, ordered X and also Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, to remove footage of the stabbing of Assyrian Christian bishop Mari Emmanuel. Regarding X specifically, Inman-Grant wanted 65 tweets taken down, some of which offered commentary on the terrible event. Inman-Grant has the legal authority to do this thanks to the Online Safety Act of 2021, passed by the former fake Conservative coalition government. Failure to comply with this kind of takedown order can result in a fine of up to $782,500 per day. Now, while Meta complied with the takedown order, X raised an objection, saying the takedown order was overreach. That is, X, headed by Elon, doesn't think an unelected official from Australia has the power to censor the whole world's internet, which X's global government affairs team made clear, stating the posts targeted for removal by Inman-Grant did not violate X's rules on violent speech. This was a tragic event, and we do not allow people to praise it or call for further violence. There is a public conversation happening about the event on X and across Australia, as is often the case when events of major public concern occur. While X respects the right of a country to enforce its laws within its jurisdiction, the E-Safety Commissioner does not have the authority to dictate what content X's users can see globally. We will robustly challenge this unlawful and dangerous approach in court. Global takedown orders go against the very principles of a free and open internet and threaten free speech everywhere. Now, while X did comply in the interim with the takedown order, pending a legal challenge, they did so by geo-blocking the video from Australian IP addresses, so making it impossible for people in Australia to watch it, rather than moving it totally from the platform. This was not enough for Inman-Grant, as the content can still be viewed with a VPN, or a virtual privacy network. So on Monday, she sought an injunction in the federal court forcing X to take the content down. This was granted and extended until the 10th of May, which is when X's lawyers will be geared up for a hearing. However, it is worth noting that as of yet, X still hasn't taken the footage down. Now, you might be wondering why so many people are so annoyed, including myself, that the Australian government is so intent on removing a piece of violent footage from X. After all, the less violent material on the internet, the better, right? Well, it's because this pearl clutching over one particular violent video, as opposed to all of the countless other violent videos out there on the internet, is covering up a political agenda by the government and the opposition, by the way, to give politicians more control over what opinions Australians can and can't voice online. We will have more on that insidious political agenda later in the show, so make sure you keep on watching. That, and it is downright embarrassing that Albo, of all people, thinks Australia, or any one country, has the right to censor the entire world's internet. I mean, like, really? But look, it's not just Albo jumping on the anti-Elon bus. Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young had a go, of course.
The online tech thugs are operating in as if it's the Wild West. Elon Musk should front up to the Australian people. He should front up here to Parliament and argue why his company shouldn't have a social conscience and shouldn't be doing the right thing. I don't think he has the guts to do it, frankly, but he should.
Sarah. It's not that Elon Musk doesn't have the guts. He just doesn't have the time, since he's busy, you know, running an empire. But it wasn't just your typical lefty censorship enthusiasts. Most of Australia's major political players were in lockstep over this, including people who are usually eminently sensible. The until now arbiter of common sense National Senator Bridget Archer, who's not in government, had her say.
Well, complying with Australian law shouldn't be optional just because you're a social media company. The E-Safety Commissioner has substantial powers and we need to see those enforced. If you're going to be a social media company operating in Australia, you need to have a sense of social responsibility. And I think the PM, you know, is caught a bit which way here. He's talking tough to Elon Musk, meanwhile subsidising Teslas. I think sometimes some of these guys, the only stick that they understand is a financial penalty. So maybe there's something in the back pocket the PM could use.
Even opposition leader Peter Dutton, who has been so right on a lot of key issues, like last year opposing the Indigenous voice to Parliament and also Labor's Orwellian mis/disinformation bill that would, if passed, effectively declare government the sole arbiter of truth and make it very difficult for anyone not affiliated with a legacy media outlet to post an opinion online that runs contrary to the government's narrative, agreed that Australia should have the power to censor the whole world's internet.
And I think there's a bipartisan position in relation to this. We know that the companies, and we've seen some of the comments from Elon Musk overnight, they see themselves above the law, and the Australian law here should apply equally in the real world as it does online.
Now, for Peter Dutton and others to say Elon Musk thinks he's above the law on this matter is distinctly ironic, since it's Australian politicians who clearly think they're above the law. Peter Dutton also said the coalition would now likely support Labor's mis/disinformation bill after last year damning the proposed laws and refusing to support them.
Where are you at on this? Are you prepared to back such laws?
Yeah, we are, and happy to have a look at anything the government puts forward, as we've said over the last week with the horrendous scenes that we've seen.
Wildly disappointing of Dutton and other key opposition figures, to say the least. But look, weirdly enough, Peter Dutton appeared to do at least a partial backflip on the Today Show on Thursday when he conceded that, actually no, Australia can't be expected to be able to censor the whole world's internet. He said that we can't pretend that Australia can dictate to other countries around the world what people see within their countries. We can't know for sure, but I'd say his office may have been inundated with calls and emails from Liberal voters expressing their dismay at the fact he so willingly supported Anthony Albanese's censorious crusade against Elon Musk. Be aware of your base always, Mr. Dutton. However, the take that really ground my gears, which was epitomised by Anthony Albanese himself in a plaintive interview on Channel 9, was, "Please, won't you think of the children?"
Kids such as the ones that the school that we're just shouting out there, they have access to this sort of material. Surely social media needs to have some element of social responsibility.
He might as well be Helen Lovejoy.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
And really, it's that angle from Albo and the other politicians who have done the think of the children angle that reveals this whole campaign to get X to take down one particular video is completely disingenuous. If Albanese really cared about inappropriate content sullying young minds, why is he only concerned about one violent video, considering the relentless amount of smut, from graphic bloody violence to what amounts to snuff movies on X and other social media platforms? If Albo were really all about protecting children, and indeed sensitive adults, from violent content, why not go after all the violent content? It all boils down to three reasons. First, the video of a Muslim boy stabbing a Christian bishop because the bishop in question spoke negatively about the boy's prophet sparks a discussion about radical Islam, which will make Australians even more annoyed about the record numbers of immigrants currently pouring into the country and thus reflect negatively on an already flailing federal government. Second, Labor are currently very frightened they might lose certain seats with large Muslim populations in Western Sydney to independents who may run on a pro-Palestine platform, given the government's official position of support for Israel. Making a big show of censoring a video depicting an alleged Islamic terror attack is designed to court Muslim votes by presenting the PM as attempting to stop social division. And third, to drum up support for the government's proposed mis- and disinformation bill, which I mentioned earlier. It's got nothing to do with protecting innocent eyes from seeing nasty content, everything to do with trying to shore up the next federal election, which will be held next year. As for the opposition's support of Labor in this censorship endeavour, well, I guess they're just gutless. Or perhaps they sniff a potential victory at the next federal election and would really like the ability to declare themselves as potentially the next government as the sole arbiters of truth, thanks to Labor's mis- and disinformation bill. Either way, my message to the Australian politicians fumbling around, trying to take on Elon Musk is this. You lack not only the intelligence, but also the necessary sophistication to try to go toe-to-toe with Elon on anything, let alone free speech and online censorship. Elon Musk is to Albanese et al. What French caviar is to McDonald's chicken nuggets. Elon is so far out of their league, it would be funny if it weren't so embarrassing. Well, I mean, while these politicians can barely run a country, Elon Musk is pioneering his way into colonising Mars. For goodness sake, Aussie politicians, pick your battles.